For anybody who's been following my channel for some time will know that the Nintendo 64 is my favorite game system of all time. I normally start these videos with a bit of history about the system that I'm covering, but I've actually already uploaded an entire video dedicated to the history of the Nintendo 64. If you'd like to check out that video, you can click the link on screen now. With only 296 unique titles being released on the Nintendo 64, very few are really rare. This video covers all of the actual rare games for the system. Games like Conker's Bad Fur Day, Ogre Battle, Harvest Moon, or StarCraft 64 may be expensive compared to most games on the system, but they aren't really rare. I will be focusing on complete in-box games for this video instead of loose carts, which I normally don't do in this series, but for the Nintendo 64, the boxes and manuals of certain games make them very rare, not the cartridges. The perfect example of this is our first game on the list. Stunt Racer 64 is a futuristic racer where you perform tricks to earn money, which is used to purchase new vehicles and upgrade parts. It was released on October 1st, 2000, and was exclusive to North America. Stunt Racer was also a Blockbuster exclusive title, meaning it was not readily available for sale, but instead was only available for rent at Blockbuster stores. It was eventually sold when they were clearing the Nintendo 64 games to make room for the new GameCube titles. Any game that is a rental exclusive usually has a very expensive box and manual, as most of them were thrown out by the stores themselves. A cartridge copy of Stunt Racer 64 isn't really rare or expensive, it's the box and manual that make a complete copy of the game one of the rarest on the system. A cartridge-only copy sells for about $95. A complete copy sells for an average price of $800. I couldn't find a single sealed copy sold or even available for sale anywhere. The rarity of this game is a 7 out of 10. Worms Armageddon is a multi-platform game which saw releases on the Nintendo 64 along with the Game Boy Color, PlayStation 1, Sega Dreamcast, and PC. Anyone who has played a Worms game knows what to expect. This is a 2D turn-based tactics game where you control a team of worms and use a variety of different weapons and powers to defeat the enemy team of worms. It was released on the N64 on March 30th, 2000. It is quite a unique title on the system and is a great multiplayer game. Some regard the Nintendo 64 version to be the superior console version of the game. A cartridge-only copy of Worms Armageddon sells for about $140. A complete copy sells for an average price of $450. Factory-sealed copies do not come up for sale often, and only 2 have sold since 2016. The average price of the 2 sold is $937. The rarity of this game is a 6 out of 10. Transformers has always been an extremely popular show and toy line, and there have been many games made for the franchise. Transformers Beast Wars Transmetals is the Transformers game we got for the Nintendo 64. It was released on November 15th, 2000 in North America, but came out 8 months earlier on the PS1. The game is a fighting game where you control Transformers in 3 different modes: Beast Mode, Vehicle Mode, and Robot Mode. The game's controls aren't great, and the game received unfavorable reviews upon release. The game was initially a Blockbuster exclusive like many on this list, but eventually was sold elsewhere. Because of this, there are 2 different boxes for the game, one with the Blockbuster logo on the front and one without it. Neither appears to be more rare or expensive than the other. A cart-only copy of Beast Wars sells on average for around $41. A complete in-box copy of the game sells for around $380. Factory-sealed copies are very rare, like many on the list, but they average about $1,600 since 2015, aside from a damaged sealed copy that sold for $554. The rarity of this game is an 8 out of 10. Bomberman was a fairly popular character up until the Nintendo 64 era. There have been Bomberman games released for the GameCube, Wii, and now the Nintendo Switch, but the character isn't really a household name anymore. There were 3 Bomberman games released for the Nintendo 64, which is a lot for a franchise that isn't Mario. Bomberman 64: The Second Attack was released on May 28, 2000, developed by Hudson Soft and published by Vatical Entertainment. It is a direct sequel to Bomberman 64. The sequel improved many aspects of the first game, but received mixed reviews, with most of the complaints being in the graphics and music department. A cartridge-only copy of Bomberman Second Attack sells for about $87. A complete copy sells for an average price of $390. Factory-sealed copies vary so much in what they sell for, but the average is about $1,087, with some selling for as low as $500 or $600, but an 85 Plus gold VGA graded copy sold for almost $4,000. The rarity of this game is an 8 out of 10. Super Bowling 64 was released in North America on January 15, 2001, and is a sequel to the Super Nintendo game simply titled Super Bowling. It's a fairly straightforward game, and if you've ever gone bowling, you of course will know what to expect with this title. There are new characters and alleys to unlock in Acquisition Mode, which allows for some expansion and replayability of the game. The game is pretty rare since it was such a late release for the Nintendo 64. Like many other games on this list, the box and manual are what make it rare, not necessarily the game itself. A cartridge-only copy of Super Bowling 64 sells for about $134. A complete copy sells on average for around $428. According to PriceCharting.com, only 5 factory-sealed copies have sold on eBay since 2012, the most recent being in 2017, sold for just under $1,000. The rarity of this game is a 7 out of 10. The last game on this list won't come as a surprise to anyone who collects retro video games, and that game is Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut. This game is a Blockbuster exclusive sequel to Clay Fighter 63 1/3 and was made available for rent only on May 15, 1998. I made an entire video on the history and the rarity of Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut, which I will link to on screen right now. In short, most people find the game to be painful to play, but personally I like it a lot, which may have to do with the fact that I owned this game as a child when my grandpa got it for me for Christmas one year. Regardless of what people think of the actual game, it is the rarest Nintendo 64 game ever released. A cartridge-only copy of Sculptor's Cut sells for an average price of $381. A complete-in-box copy sells for an average price of $2,320, with the manual being the rarest and most expensive piece. I have heard talk of 1 or 2 factory-sealed copies existing, but as far as I know, none have ever been sold publicly, but one could only guess at the price it might fetch. The rarity of this game is a 9 out of 10. The Nintendo 64 is a truly special system, which ushered in the world of 3D gaming with games like Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. Despite what many people may think of the controller, it too was revolutionary. It always has and always will be my favorite system for many different reasons, and I know many other people feel the same way. Thank you so much for checking out episode 4 in my rare and expensive video game series. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe, and of course hit the like button. And if you liked this video, please check out the links in the description to the previous episodes in this series. Thank you so much for watching.